Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning into the channel today. So one question I've been thinking about a lot lately is, does God care about what we say? Does he care about what comes out of our mouths? Well, I mean, offhand, we're all going to say, well, of course he does, and we know that for lots of reasons. But one of the questions I have is why? I mean, why does God care about what we say, and what effect do our words have? So I've been looking at a verse lately in Ephesians chapter 4. It's actually verse 29. Um, and I just kind of got a new insight on this a few days ago, and you can let me know your thoughts on it. But the verse says in 429, I have my trusty MacArthur study Bible here. um, Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. So what's interesting about that verse is, of course, it starts out saying, let no unwholesome words, bad words come out of your mouth. Another translation says corrupting words. So I think that kind of gives us a very strong inkling as to the why. Why does God care about what we say, what comes out of our mouths? Well, because what we say can be corrupting. It can be hurtful. Jesus said that, people speak out of that which fills their hearts, which means it's whatever in our hearts comes out of our mouths. In fact, my pastor recently said that, you just be with somebody long enough, a little while, a few minutes or whatever else like that, and you'll be able to tell from their speech, the kinds of things that are in their heart. I mean, are they positive and joyful people who are loving and always have a good attitude? Or are they negative and, Debbie Downer types or such like that? And so it won't be long before you're with somebody for you to be able to tell what's in their heart. Not to be judgmental of them or anything else like that, because people can tell the same about us. What's in my heart? Well, when somebody spends enough time with me, what kinds of things am I saying? What's coming out of my mouth? This was kind of brought home to me a little while ago. I was on a business call with several of my colleagues, and we were just having the usual, everybody enters the conversation on kind of a professional, positive note. Everybody's talking their best talk and such. But it wasn't very long until one of the people in the conversation dropped the F word in the conversation, just casually, like that's the way, in his view, everybody else talks. That kind of startled me. But it wasn't very long after that until another person in the conversation started using some pretty strong profanity, another person, until it was just this kind of talking about the business we were about, but filled with a lot of profanity and such, which just really kind of turned me off. And of course, it told me that, a lot about what was in the hearts of the folks saying that. And that, of course, turned me to my own words. And I hear myself sometimes speaking with my son or my wife. I'm being harsh with my wife, or I'm being, critical of my son. Those things evidence a critical spirit and a harsh tongue and a harsh heart. And then I need to bring those things to the Lord in repentance and asking his forgiveness. So all of that is the negative we know. Essentially, don't let bad stuff come out of your mouth. But we have to change. We have to have our hearts changed first. So if you are someone like me who struggles with your words at times, and after you've said something, boy, I shouldn't have said that, then that's something that we can pray about. Lord, please cleanse my heart of whatever the category is: harshness, a critical spirit, always looking for the fault in people. But then going back to our verse in Ephesians 4:29, after the part where it says, "Don't let any unwholesome come out of your mouth," it then goes on to say, but only such a word as is good for edification. Edification means to build somebody else. Will give grace to those who hear. So here's the exciting point about this that I absolutely love. Not only, can I ask the Lord to help me not to say the bad stuff, but I can ask the Lord to help me to say the good stuff. Our words can be strategic. That's the whole point in this verse. We can say words that build people up. We can choose to, give somebody a compliment without worrying about, oh, that might give them a big head if I give them a compliment, or if I say something nice to that person, then they'll think I'm buttering them up. It doesn't really matter, right? Because Jesus told us to treat other people the way that we would want them to treat us. All of us would love to hear a compliment or a kind word from somebody, anytime really. And so this verse is basically telling us, okay, let's make sure the bad stuff doesn't come out of our mouths, but let's also, with just as much zeal and enthusiasm, make sure that good things are coming out of our mouths, that in the moment can give grace to somebody. You have somebody in your life who's going through a tough time, and you say something to them that encourages them and helps them and builds them up in the moment. That is a terrific thing. I know that oftentimes when my son gets a bit discouraged, he just recently got let go of a job, and we talked about it and we prayed about it, and it was I tried to encourage him to know that since he belongs to Christ, that he has the God of heaven, knowing where he is at all times. He's never off of God's radar, and that God will take care of him because he's promised to do that. And that's not just all cliches. I mean, either we believe those things or we don't. And of course, my son and I do believe that. So it's always an encouraging thing to be able to build someone up with our words. So that's my prayer in my life, in my family's life, is that I can learn how to use my words in ways that build people up and are helpful and encouraging and are strategic, just as the word says here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you found this to be helpful or encouraging or a challenge to you or anything else like that, to help you grow in your faith and in your life with the Lord, then please go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below, or if you have any questions or have some verses that you have thoughts on that we could talk about here on the channel. Thanks so much.